Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining the HVAC Mergers and Acquisition podcast. On this podcast, we're talking about how to prepare your HVAC company to get the best price and best terms for your business and to acquire HVAC companies and to merge these HVAC companies together. So anything HVAC mergers and acquisition related, we want to help you. Okay, today is an interesting topic, and you might find this a little strange, right? Because not everyone understands uh, mergers and acquisitions, right? They try to relate it to something else they've done in their life, like buying a house and that sort of thing. And it's very different. Buying a business is very different. And you don't always receive cash up front when selling your company, and which sounds weird, right? If you're selling your company, shouldn't you receive cash up front? Don't you want cash up front? And in certain cases you may, and in certain cases you may not, right? So let's think about it. So let's say your profit is 300,000 a year, EBITDA, right? 300,000 a year. And let's say the multiple in your industry is at 3. So you get offered 900,000 for your business, right? And you get that, let's say you get that cash up front. Very rarely do you get all the cash up front when selling your business, by the way. But let's pretend like you do, right? So you get that $900,000 up front. And as part of your terms, the buyer says you need to stay on 3 years as an employee, and they're going to pay you 100,000 a year, right? So they give you cash up front, the $900,000, and you stay on for 3 years, making $100,000, right? So you're making 300,000 profit before, and now you're staying on 3 years, and you're only making 100,000. So at the end of 3 years, you've made $300,000, and you're out of the business completely at that point. And now think about it. How do the numbers really add up there? What if you had just stayed on and just shut the business down after 3 years? You'd be better off, right? You would have that $900,000, right? You'd get that cash up front and you could exit at the same time, right? Versus being an employee for someone else and maybe just stay on one more year, right? And so it's almost like a cash advance in those types of scenarios where you're selling your company, but you're staying on so long that, yeah, you're mitigating a lot of the risk for the buyer, but you're really not making any money for your business, right? But what if you got offered, let's say instead of 900,000, you got offered 1.2 million, another, instead of a 3x, it was a 4x for your business, right? So you got paid 1.2 for your business, but you didn't get any cash up front. Let's say you were paid over time for the next 10 years in your business. What would that do for you, right? And you got to exit the business a lot earlier. And that's where the price versus terms comes in, because you may have a scenario where you get a much higher valuation for your business and you get to exit a lot sooner to where you're not an employee for a buyer. So you get more. And then also there's tax benefits. I'm not providing investment advice or tax advice or any of that, but there are tax incentives associated with getting all the capital up front versus paid over time, right? So in those scenarios, you think about what is the income that I need per year to be happy, right? So in some cases, you can get a very attractive income, exit your company, and get paid for the next 10 years that income, and be able to completely exit the company and be able to enjoy life and do the thing that you want to do without being tied up in the business. And so really, really think about that. So when somebody's offering you a lot of cash up front, it may not be as valuable as you think, right? So think about the terms as well. What do those terms look like? And when you balance two together, you may end up better off without getting the cash up front and paid over time, because sometimes you can actually act as the bank, right? And we're going to talk about that in another episodes, but hopefully you found this helpful, and stay tuned for future episodes.